Is it on? I think it's on. All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. This podcast is Nerdy and 30, first episode ever. The first episode ever. Basically, this podcast will be about pop culture, movies, comics, video games, a little bit of everything pretty much. My name's Justin, and I got my boy here.
Hello, my name's Tony.
The homie Tony. And, basically, the podcast, like we said before, about movies, comics, video games, a bunch of different things. And today, the first topic is going to be about Black Panther. But before we get to all that fun stuff, we're going to be doing some news and trailers. So I'll pass it to my boy Tony here for the news.
So I picked up some news stories throughout the week, some things that might interest us. We're not going over all news in the movie industry, obviously, or TV or comics or whatever, just things that, sound interesting to us. We tend to like, comic book related stuff, but we also just like good movies and stuff and good shows.
Yep.
The first news story that I saw in the week is, I don't know if you are even aware of this, the fact that this movie even exists, is John Travolta's John Gotti biopic.
No, I've not heard of this yet.
So
John Travolta, huh?
Yeah,
Okay.
John Travolta.
Okay.
So John Gotti.
Interesting.
John Gotti obviously was a 1980s and 90s New York mobster who was very eccentric and went against the 70s mold of mobsters, like being in the shadows and not in the public eye. Well, and John Gotti went against that. So I don't know, I guess John Travolta wanted this was like his passion project.
Okay.
So and it only had a $10 million budget, which it wasn't that large.
That's actually pretty small for any movie nowadays.
Nowadays, yeah.
Yeah.
It didn't premiere nationwide. It only premiered in about, I think it was 500 theaters across the nation. Yeah, 503 theaters across 25 cities.
Okay, so it's already out then.
It's already out, yeah. And
so is this $10 million of his own money, you think?
No, it came from the movie studio, I guess. I don't think it was personally funded, but it only premiered to 1.7 million for the weekend, and it came in 10th.
Oh, wow.
Which I understand wasn't nationwide, but they're saying it's bombing pretty hard because they don't think it's going to make it up. But a lot of people aren't even aware of it. I mean, just look when I told you.
I had no idea. So
I watched the trailer.
Hey, do you think John Travolta ever met Gotti in his lifetime? He was like pretty famous, like Travolta was during that time period.
He was.
Maybe he like showed up to like some kind of bar or like VIP together, and there's like, "Hey, yo, Travolta."
Right. Well, Gotti got sentenced to life in prison, and I think he just died.
Oh, did he?
In prison.
R.I.P.
But I don't know. They said it was his passion project, and it got a the coveted 0% rating on Rotten Tomatoes.
Jesus Christ. That's only reserved for the worst of the worst.
Yeah,
wow.
And it's almost hard at this point to get 0% because I mean, Suicide Squad doesn't even have 0%, which it deserves it.
Absolutely.
You're talking the likes of like Dragon Ball Evolution and like
Yikes.
I don't know
that's like a yikers right there. That sounds absolutely terrible.
So,
dude, like
I saw the trailer and I didn't even think it looked that bad. I was actually somewhat interested in seeing it.
Yeah,
but there's no way I would have saw it in the theater, and I don't even think we could have. We would have had to have gone to like
New York or LA or probably.
Yeah,
probably one bigger city.
I don't think it came to Detroit or Ann Arbor or anything
probably
like that.
Not.
So we would have had to gone to like Chicago. Would probably been the nearest
probably
city
the closest.
To see it.
Yeah.
So, but
well, good luck to John Travolta. I really hope this. Maybe he can put it on, get a little Netflix special, throw it on there.
He must have had some massive hair implants to play Gotti because he already has
little to no hair left. So.
Well, little to no real hair.
That's what I mean. Yeah. Rip.
Right. So, all right. Well, the next news story in the week that I found interesting was Anthony Mackie and Frank Grillo are going to star in Netflix's Point Blank remake. And I don't know if you know what Point Blank was, but Point Blank was a show from, I believe, the 70s. And
Point Blank.
Point Blank was a show from the 70s with Lee Marvin in it. And, the synopsis was about, double-cross guy left for dead. And he's just trying to, figure out how he got crossed and retrieve his money that apparently is inconsequential. So, I thought that was cool. It's coming to Netflix.
So is it going to be a series or a little movie?
It's going to be a series.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty sweet.
And,
anything Netflix done, I'm okay with. I like what they do for the most part.
Yeah, and I like Anthony Mackie and Frank Grillo. Mackie's obviously in the Marvel MCU.
Yep.
Frank Grillo's in the... he's in the MCU, too. He played Crossbones.
Crossbones?
Yeah, you remember him?
Mm-mm.
He was in
Crossbones.
He was in
the Spider-Man,
Winter Soldier, and Civil War. He was a Captain American bad guy. So they're both in the MCU. Didn't even think about that. But
Crossbones.
Frank Grillo was also in a couple of the Purge movies.
Okay, I actually like those movies.
Yeah, I do too. They're not scary.
I like the concept of it.
But well, there's a new one coming out. Oh,
really?
The first Purge. Maybe you should watch that trailer too.
The first purge.
The first purge
happens in freaking the colonies back in.
right, yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. I thought, we'll see how that goes. I mean, most of the Netflix shows turn out to be pretty halfway decent.
Yeah,
there are some bad ones.
Yeah, for sure. So, Point Blank. Look for that, ladies and gentlemen.
Right. Yeah. Right. Well.
Oh shit.
Another thing that happened in the last couple weeks, I'm sure almost everybody has heard about it, but apparently ABC has ordered a show of The Connors, which is Roseanne's family in the show Roseanne, but they ordered it without her, so it's not going to be called Roseanne.
They're we need to get our investment back on this Roseanne shit.
Obviously, because of her comments on Twitter, which we're not going to get into the political part of it, but, is anyone... I mean, I'm not a huge fan of the Roseanne show, but I know people who are, most notably our friend Steve.
Yeah, I mean, I was a big fan when I was a kid. I used to love watching Roseanne. It was probably like one of my favorite shows, like growing up, like Roseanne, Full House, Family Matters, all those style shows.
See, I watched those, just not Roseanne that much. But I mean, John Goodman's in it.
Great actor.
He's the man. And what's his face from a couple people from The Big Bang Theory came from Roseanne.
Yep.
I think her son in the show, and then his girlfriend.
Yep. No, it was.
Or her daughter.
It's the opposite.
Her boyfriend.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the Connors. I can't I don't know how successful it'll be without Roseanne without Roseanne, because Roseanne was like first of all, she was a great comedian. Yeah. No matter what she says, on Twitter or whatever, she's still a great comedian. She always has been. I forget who exactly wrote for her back in the 80s and 90s. I believe it was the guy from Superbad, the director. What's his name? I can't forget his name right now.
The super bad director. Oh, that's the guy who did Knocked Up.
Yep, all those movies. I can't believe I don't remember his name right now. I
can look it up real quick, but
yeah, he wrote for her back in the 90s and stuff. I doubt he had anything to do with any of the new stuff that's out now. But Roseanne is like was a great comedian, but she's also, really racist. So I can see why ABC would be like, you know what? I think let's try something else. Let's try and get our investment back on this Roseanne reboot.
You're thinking of Judd Apatow.
Judd Apatow wrote a lot of jokes for Roseanne back in the 90s and 80s. Tons.
See, I watched an episode of Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee with Jerry Seinfeld. And it was one with Judd Apatow, and he kept saying of how much of just a stand-up comedian fan he is. Not necessarily being a stand-up comedian, but he was just like an obsessed nerd when it came to stand-up comics, and that's why he's done so much more writing than stand-up.
Yeah.
See, I didn't know he wrote for Roseanne.
I watched his Netflix special, the stand-up that he did there. That was okay. It wasn't like amazing. I'd rather him write, I guess, than perform.
Yeah.
I've always been that way with a lot of people that
I think he's
try
the
and break
opposite,
through.
but I think he probably realizes where his talent lies.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So I've never been a huge fan of the Roseanne show, so I haven't watched a ton of episodes, so I guess I didn't know how much of a catalyst she is to the show, how instrumental she is.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you know, if the show must go on, you know, it got a lot of high ratings in its return, so obviously ABC wants to, you know, cash in on that.
Yeah, they want to try and get as much money as they can after Roseanne was booted. So
What do you think they're gonna say about why she left?
she probably Peace Corps maybe, or you think? Do you imagine Roseanne going to the Peace Corps?
Right.
She joined the military.
Right,
They
yeah.
accepted her at 60 years old.
Right.
They're hurting over
Some
there.
excuse. TV, right? They could just say, you know, pull a soap opera thing. She's in a coma, but we're never going to show her.
Yeah, that's actually a great idea. They could just, I mean, CGI is good enough now where they could just put her in a bed.
Well,
Skinny
it
Roseanne.
is, but you run into that controversy where they got from the Star Wars universe is where are you able to use people's likeness without their permission? And I doubt with the situation that's going on with Roseanne if she would let them use her likeness.
I mean, it's her creation too.
Yeah.
That show is like hers.
Most notably the Princess Leia and Grand Moff Tarkin, both in Rogue One, they use their likeness. Now, obviously, Carrie Fisher gave her permission for her likeness, but
Sure.
the Grand Moff Tarkin
he's been
actor
dead for
was
years.
dead. Yeah, so
And also, that was very realistic. what they
it
did.
was so, and you know the de-aging is getting better. I think Michael Douglas's one in Ant-Man was the best one, but I don't know how much of that was CGI or makeup or whatever. Obviously, the Grand Moff Tarkin one.
I'm sure it's a nice combination of both.
Right.
That, you know, they probably find someone of likeness or similar. You know.
Yeah. Huh. Well,
It's pretty cool though. I mean, maybe they'll do a hopefully a nice CGI Roseanne occasionally here and there, just pop up, like, hey, you know.
for a sitcom show, that'd be some kind of budget.
Yeah, that'd probably be at least $30 million.
Right.
All right, what we got?
The next story I was looking at was I don't know how much you're looking into DC news lately. Yeah, exactly. But you know, DC's kind of a train wreck right now, and
Sure.
I think they just got a new CEO or creative director. I think it was a CEO, but originally they had like a list of 50 projects they were in the works. But obviously, you know, Justice League's going to make them lose like $100 million, so a bunch of those aren't happening. But you know, Matt Reeves' Batman films are apparently happening, but I guess the first one, The Batman, supposedly Ben Affleck is out. Like, he doesn't want to do it. There's rumors that Jake Gyllenhaal might come in as Batman, which I think would be actually awesome.
Just give me Christian Bale again for a couple.
Just Christian Bale. I don't even think he wants to do it.
Hell no, he doesn't.
I think he lost his voice too many times for Batman, but...
So I'm okay with Ben Affleck not being in it. I don't see him as a very good Bruce Wayne. I like him as Batman, but I don't like him as Bruce Wayne, I guess. I need a billionaire playboy, baby.
See, I actually didn't like... The whole new DCEU was just... It's just awful. There are very few parts in it that I even liked. I think the one shining part was Affleck, though. I thought he did a decent job. I mean, some of the stuff that Batman didn't make sense. But from a writer's standpoint, I don't think that's Affleck's fault. I think
There's weird pacing in those new ones, too.
Yeah, I think he kind of did the best with what he got. Now, Gyllenhaal always seems to do well with weird parts. And, you know, Batman's kind of a weird character. Like,
I wonder if he's just going to get super jacked for it.
He probably will. But every time it seems like Gyllenhaal does like a normal role,
Yeah.
he kind of gets panned by critics. But when he does a weird character like Nightcrawler, did you ever see Nightcrawler?
Yeah.
And other films like that.
That worked for him.
Yeah,
that's one of my favorite movies of, what was it, 2016 or something?
Yeah.
That was an amazing movie.
It was a great movie. And then, you know, he was in Zodiac. I always think he does well with those kind of weird characters. And of course, I'm spacing right now, but the movie with the giant bunny.
Donnie Darko.
Donnie Darko.
Yeah.
Was kind of a weird character too. So I think he would do well with Batman.
You know what? Brokeback Mountain did.
Yeah. Right.
Was that him?
Yeah.
And freaking that guy from Batman. So I mean, we're actually.
Heath Ledger was in that as well. Yeah.
So that all ties together. In a
well,
weird way.
and
maybe they talked about it in the tent.
Well, I'm bringing up Heath Ledger with the news this week. Apparently, there's DC said there's 2 solo Joker movies in the works. One with Jared Leto and Harley.
Okay.
So I don't know.
I did hear about the Jared Leto.
I don't know if that's happening. I don't think anyone actually wants that to happen because Jared Leto's Joker is.
It's not
awful.
My favorite Joker, I will say. But I would like a
Caesar
Joker
Romero's
movie.
Joker
A Joker
better.
movie would be cool, but it needs to be done like perfect.
Well, and that's why. So apparently, there's a relatively low budget Joker solo movie in the works with Martin Scorsese producing, and they're trying to get Joaquin Phoenix to play Joker. I think that would actually be awesome.
That'd be cool because he actually is like a tormented, like broken person in real life. So I feel like that'd be perfect.
Well, a lot of people still think he's crazy because of that stunt he pulled for the rap.
Oh, the mockumentary or
the
whatever.
mockumentary. So people thought he actually
Which was
went
actually a
crazy.
pretty good mockumentary.
Yeah,
One of the
I
better
never
ones.
saw it, but a lot of people. I don't think a lot of people saw it, but
I remember seeing it back in like 2013 or it was probably before that even, and I was like, this can't be real, right?
Right. Well, and that's why a lot of people, because no one saw his mockumentary, a lot of people thought he went crazy. And they still think he's crazy.
Cuckoo bonkers.
But, I mean, he's a great actor. And
I agree.
I think they're going to go more the crime boss route, which I guess Jared Leto's Joker kind of did. He was the crime boss of Gotham City. But, if Martin Scorsese is producing, I feel like it's going to have that realistic tone that the Dark Knight trilogy have, which would be awesome.
I would like that too.
And Jared Leto's Joker is just...
Dark Knight's my favorite series of all the Batmans. Like every single Batman's my favorite. And I feel like Batman's the only character I care about in DC, the only universe I care about. Well, not universe, but the only, series I care about. Like Joker, Batman, any of those villains are awesome to me.
I mean, if DC made some good movies about some characters, I would like it. I would go watch it. Like, I'm not a huge fan of DC characters, but if they made an awesome Superman or an awesome Flash movie or something like that, I would go see it. And, Wonder Woman wasn't horrible.
It was pretty good.
So,
and
people saw it. It was like one of the most, well, I don't know if it's the most successful, at least critically, it's the most successful DC movie. But apparently the news is that they're going to be tying those two universes together. So the Joaquin Phoenix's Joker might be brought into Matt Reeves' Batman film. So can you imagine a Joaquin Phoenix Joker up against a Jake Gyllenhaal Batman?
That'd be kind of cool.
I'd be awesome.
There needs to be some kind of shakeup in that universe that DC's creating.
It needs to be. And I think, Justice League just tanked so hard, partly because of director Zack Snyder's kind of a hack, but I'm not going to get into that. But
we got him on the line right now, ladies and gentlemen.
right. I think that DC would just be better off going solo.
Who owns
doing
DC
a stream
right
of
now?
solo movies. Batman solo movies have been successful in the past, and Wonder Woman's doing good now that she has her sequel coming out. So
yeah, well, the
and
event
Superman movies have been successful in the past. It's just you don't always need to have, the MCU tie-out movies.
Well, they're trying to pull because Avengers were so successful. They're like, maybe we can pull every single DC character into one movie. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, but they didn't want to do the hard work with setting it up.
Yeah,
they were just like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, here's everyone.
I pulled up Gal just because she's beautiful. Look at her. Wow.
Yeah.
Gorgeous.
And I thought Gal Gadot was a perfect pick for Wonder Woman because she isn't necessarily... Well, she's not... She looks like a pinup model, but she doesn't necessarily act like one. She was in
military
the Israeli Special Forces.
Yeah, and she smokes cigarettes every day.
Right. And
she's just a crazy...
And I think it helped, too, because she was in Fast 5, and she was pretty sweet in Fast 5.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of helped establish her as, I don't want to say an action star, but in that...
She can pull that off.
In that category, yeah. So, I got another news story. The Jurassic World sequel, Fallen Kingdom. Now, neither one of us have seen it. It just came out on Friday.
Yeah.
But one of the stars in it, his name is Justice Smith. He plays like a computer programmer.
Mm-hmm.
apparently he's going to star in the live-action Pokemon movie to come out next year as the main trainer to Pikachu, with Ryan Reynolds voicing Pikachu. What do you think of that?
I feel like I just smoked a bunch of weed and I'm just like hanging out, like, and we're talking about stuff while looking up at the stars at night. That sounds the weirdest thing I've ever heard. So, like, whose idea was this? Like, was it like Japanese producers like, we need Ryan Reynolds?
Right, and normally when you see
racist,
Pikachu, especially in like the animated series,
yeah,
it was like a high pitched
Pika
like,
Pee.
yeah, like that.
Yeah,
And now you're gonna have Ryan Reynolds doing it.
I bet it's gonna be awesome.
He's
though.
gonna make super sarcastic remarks, like
he actually talks.
Yeah, he's gonna be like, "You're a crap trainer, you know that, right?"
Like, are they gonna be like ultra realistic looking Pokemon, or are they gonna be? Because I got to get some details on this. I was a big fan of Pokemon growing up.
I mean, we
Pokemon
both
were awesome.
were.
Yeah,
I mean, we had our Pokemon Go time.
Yeah, well, even Pokemon Go, exactly. That was last year. We're still in it then.
Yeah.
So like,
I mean, we don't play it anymore, just like the rest of the world. But
yeah. Well, I'll tell you
we
what.
did it
This
when
is
it first
gonna
came out.
be way off track here. But when I was in Indiana a couple weeks ago, I was walking around downtown. Hundreds of people playing Pokemon Go. Still. If you go
How
to like
old were they?
like our age, 30 years old plus.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Anyways, back to Pokemon. But freaking Ryan Reynolds. Who'd you say was gonna be Ash or a Ash character?
He's not Ash. He's just a regular, trainer.
Yeah.
Well, he's going to be Pikachu's trainer. Is Justice Smith. I don't know who he is. Apparently, he's in Jurassic World. I don't know him from anything else. The movie's going to be called Detective Pikachu.
This kid.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, he's got
There
a
it is
boyish
right there.
face. He kind of looks like he's 10 years old, even though he's not.
From this picture, we're looking at a picture right now. You guys can't see it, but it's basically it's not ultra realistic, but it's a picture of Pikachu as with a detective hat on, and he actually looks like the cartoon version, but in a real world. So maybe that's what they're going for. I don't know.
Right, but with Ryan Reynolds' voice.
Yeah, maybe he's actually like speaking.
I don't know how
Let's
that's
hope
going to fly,
not. But maybe it's like an I Am Groot kind of situation.
right, yeah. Well, we'll keep our eye out on
Yeah,
that.
for sure. That's going to be number one on the list of keeping our eye on.
Right. So I just had a couple Netflix news-related items to drop on you, but until we get to our last story. But first one is Luke Cage Season 2 dropped on Friday.
Yeah.
I haven't watched any of it, but I heard the soundtrack is awesome. Just like the first season.
Who's on it?
I don't even know.
Don't know.
I just heard that. I haven't listened to it. I know, like, Jimena was on the first seasons, and was it Raquel, or I don't even know the other guy, the Good Man song. That was a good song. And obviously Wu-Tang Clan was on the first season.
Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to fuck with.
Wasn't Redman? I think Redman was in this. Like,
Redman wasn't in Wu-Tang, but he was a part of, like, he was in a group with Method Man.
I think maybe it was Method Man, but he made like a cameo in Luke Cage the show. Have you seen it?
Mm-mm.
He was doing like a radio broadcast and talking about Luke Cage.
Oh, cool.
And he like had a freestyle like about Luke Cage during the show. So obviously Wu-Tang was on the soundtrack for quite a bit, but I'm excited to watch that. I mean, you haven't seen it. First season of Luke Cage, I thought the first half was very strong, but the second half kind of teetered out. But he's a good character, and they could do a lot of things with it, especially tying into the whole Marvel Netflix universe.
Yeah, which I don't know if is it canon with the MCU.
Yeah, it is canon. The MCU movies don't reference the TV shows at all, but the TV shows reference the movies. They talk about the event in New York.
I think they're on the characters in the Netflix series are on smaller scale, I believe.
Right.
Yeah.
So all the Netflix series take place in New York.
Yeah.
And they reference the event, which they're referring to the first Avengers when the Chitauri came in and had that.
Came in with their flying little snake beast.
Right. The flying worm with armor on it.
And Hulk just
So hopefully I'll be, watching some of that, get into that if I can. But
cool.
We'll see about that. Then the next bit of news I just saw, on the way over here, is that season 4 of Narcos will drop in September.
Nice.
Diego Luna is playing the leader of the cartel in Mexico. It's going to take place in Mexico this time. And Michael Pena is going to be have some role in it. So I don't know about you, but I absolutely loved Narcos.
I think Narcos is badass.
It's a good show.
Those kind of shows like keep me very tense a lot.
Yeah.
Because I always fantasize about being a drug lord kingpin.
Like
but,
Pablo.
Yeah, like Pablo.
Obviously, it didn't end well for him.
Not great, but
well, I mean, all these are based on a true story. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah.
Obviously, season 3 had some
a more cinematic version of the truth.
More cinematic version. I heard the first 2 seasons were relatively accurate. The 3rd season, so Pedro Pascal's character was in Colombia, in Cali, taking down the Cali cartel. Spoiler alert. And I think in the true story, he was back in the U.S. and he was just a consultant, or he might have just been in Bogota being a consultant. But and he kind of was in the show. But he went to Cali in the show, and I'm pretty sure he didn't go to Cali in real life. But this one is about the Juarez cartel in Mexico.
Yeah.
So
pretty brutal group.
Well, there's that story along a while back. It was a guy that was doing production for the show, and he was driving around like small town Mexico looking for sites for the show. And
smart thinking. By himself?
Yeah. And he was actually they found him with like several bullet holes in him, and they thought the cartel found him and shot him because they were trying to find realistic locations. Well, it's not more realistic than actually finding a cartel hideout
and getting shot.
So
he's dead.
Yeah.
Wow.
That guy. Yeah.
Holy cow. Well, that's one way to create a realistic show, is to actually have a cast member die, or not a cast member, but a producer, or whatever.
They filmed the first 3 seasons in Colombia, and I heard this one's going to be filmed. It was filmed in Mexico, so I mean they film on location. Colombia is a lot safer now than it was in the 90s, but so
Mexico's not though, so especially in the deep state, like
Mexico is definitely not.
Yeah.
So, and the last little bit of news before we get to our last story was last night. I don't know if you saw it, Spider-Man Homecoming 2, which is not called Homecoming. The title came out. It's called Spider-Man Far From Home. They just dropped the title. I don't know. I don't know what you think about that title, but obviously we're circling back because the bad guy in it is rumored to be Mysterio.
I love Mysterio. Probably one of my favorite villains in the Spider-Man universe.
And the guy rumored to take the part is Jake Gyllenhaal. Again, so he's going Marvel and DC now.
Hey, shouts out to Jake. He's playing the field. I like that.
Right. So, I was just curious what your thoughts were on that. Did you see Homecoming? I'm assuming.
I have. Yeah, and I'm a fan of what's that actor's name? Who's this new Spider-Man?
Oh, Tom Holland.
I think he's great. I think he's kind of goofy. I'm glad they went back to like the teenage years of.
Well, he's young.
Yeah.
Because like when Tobey Maguire got the part, he was like 30.
30. Yeah.
Whereas Tom Holland's like 20.
Yeah, and I like that.
He's young.
I like the young Spider-Man. I've always been a fan of like the high school going Spider-Man. Yeah. He's one of my favorite Marvel characters in general.
Yeah.
So I think hopefully they go into like some like weird like
they might
alternate universe kind of thing where they can pull the Mysterio does his crazy magic or whatever the hell he does.
Right. Well, Mysterio doesn't have any powers, right?
I forget what the hell he does.
But I think they're going for that Sinister Six type build with these new Spider-Man movies. I mean, Sony tried to do it. They just can't make a good movie ever since Sam Raimi left. But, I mean, Michael Keaton's coming back as Vulture. And, there were several villains in the first Spider-Man Homecoming, most low-key ones that most people wouldn't notice. But the Tinkerer was in it.
Okay.
He was the guy that was making Vulture's weapons.
Okay,
he was supposed to be the Tinkerer.
Yeah.
So I like Spider-Man Homecoming. I thought it was awesome. I mean, obviously you could tell. I mean, Tony Stark didn't play a huge role in the movie, and I think it was better off that way. But they said the main reason why he didn't is because they were probably paying Robert Downey Jr. by the minute because
guaranteed
he got paid like $50 million to be in Infinity War. So I don't even want to know how much. And since they were rebooting Spider-Man, they probably didn't have a huge budget because Amazing Spider-Man 2 tanked.
Yeah.
So I don't think it I don't know about financially, but critically it definitely did. But so that was a little snippet of news. Now our last news, I thought was absolutely hilarious. I found it. NBC has officially canceled Jerry Springer.
No way.
After 27 seasons.
I was about to say, it's probably been 30 plus seasons
Well,
now.
they are no longer officially making new episodes. The remaining episodes are going to be aired on a different network. I will let you guess the network because it's typical.
UPN? I don't know.
UPN. Well, actually, you're actually right.
Really?
Because, UPN's not UPN anymore. It's the CW.
Oh, they changed it?
And the CW is going to be airing the remaining
It just
episodes.
goes to show you how much I watch my TV.
I know, but... So Jerry Springer officially canceled.
That's kind of wild.
Years.
That's wild to think about. Jerry, he had a good run, man. I'll tell you what. A lot of my childhood growing up, I remember turning to Jerry just to like catch a couple laughs. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, Maury's still on.
Wow. How many? Every episode's the same, right? I'm pretty sure.
Pretty much.
That's always about like who's my baby daddy, who's my baby mama.
Right. And I
guess who's my baby mama. I guess whoever
Somebody I know from work said that their like cousin was on Springer and they got paid more if they caused more of a ruckus. So they were like, if you push this person, you get this much money. If you punch them, you get this much money. If you get in their face and scream, you get this much money.
It's basically like watching YouTube nowadays.
Yeah.
Wow.
I thought that was hilarious. So
shouts out to Jerry, dude.
Yeah.
Hey, hope retirement's good for you, man. How old are you now? Like 70? Come on, dude.
I know.
You should have been taking a break a while ago. Yeah, enjoy your retirement, man. Hang out with Letterman. Do your thing.
He's the king of trash TV, so
absolutely,
he gets that rifle send off.
He pretty much started that.
He did start it.
Yeah.
You know, I still remember to this day the South Park episode from like, was it season 1 maybe or season 2 from like 1997 where Jesus had his own talk show, and it was basically Jerry. She was trying to get his Jerry Springer because the ratings were getting crushed by the Jimbo and Ned show.
Yeah,
about the Mexican staring frog.
Yeah,
so
they're coming right at us. No, that's the turkeys.
right. All right. Well, we're gonna start to get into some trailer reactions.
Yeah, we got some good old trailer reactions. So these trailers came out the last couple of weeks. The first trailer being Creed 2. And that's with our boy freaking Michael B. Jordan.
And Ryan Coogler directed the first Creed and wrote the first Creed, but he's not directing the second Creed, which is kind of a bummer because I loved the first Creed. I thought Sylvester Stallone was robbed of an Academy Award by the random supporting actor in Steven Spielberg's disposable Berlin Wall movie. But Stephen Caple Jr. is directing this one, and I don't know if they're going the way of the Rocky movies to where the first one won Best Picture and the ones after that, you know, were awesome but are not like Oscar-winning movies. But I don't know. I love the trailer. I think it looks awesome. Michael B. Jordan's a great actor. Sylvester Stallone is has never played Rocky so well. I think he plays the old Rocky much better than the new Rocky.
But he's like Sensei now too,
right?
Which I really like. I like. Yeah. Sylvester Stallone's still jacked out of his ass too, so he's just freaking way bigger than he was when he was a boxer, which is
70.
Great. And he's 70. Michael B. Jordan has the biggest traps I've ever seen in my life. They're gigantic. Guy's in mad shape. And I wrote this down. I thought it was funny. Cosby Show wife is on it, and he's Michael B. Jordan's mom. Or Creed, which is great. I laughed. Actually, when we were watching the trailer, I laughed right when I saw it because, you know, I was a big fan of the Cosby Show growing up. Unfortunately, I can't amend that to anybody nowadays.
Did you see the first Creed?
Yeah.
Well, she was in the first Creed.
Yeah, but it just makes me laugh every time.
Well, so now, you know, Michael B. Jordan's character has a child, apparently, with his girlfriend from the first movie. Yeah. I don't know if they're going to be married in this movie or not, but he looks like he's on boxing on a, you know, nationwide scale. Or he's
facing Drago.
Yeah,
looks like.
So Drago was a big, you know, surprise at the end. It's supposed to be Drago's son. Now, Dolph Lundgren is in the movie.
Yeah.
So I don't know what kind of a role he's going to play. I don't know if I feel like it's going to be like a Karate Kid type thing, or it's going to be like we're going to have this school and this school, and our senseis are going to hate each other on top of our students.
Yeah, but at the end they're gonna like give each other a hug, kind of thing. Or
I don't
one
know.
of them dies.
Well,
Or Sylvester Stallone dies. That's what I'm thinking.
If Rocky 5 is still canon in the Rocky verse, I guess you could say, and Dolph Lundgren's the one that basically gave him brain damage.
Yeah.
Drago. So I don't know how welcoming he's going to be to Drago. But Rocky 4, literally, if you asked me what movie I've seen more than any other movie in my entire life, it's Rocky 4. Now, I played a lot when I was working out like everybody else. Well, when I was younger, not anymore. But I just love Rocky 4. Now, it's not the best like quality movie, but it's just an awesome movie. Those type of movies. And Rocky 3, I mean,
Yeah.
Mr. T, how can you hate that? But
God, Mr. T's the man. That's what I was hoping he would just pop out of that that trailer just now. I was like, oh, where's my... Oh, that would have been nice to see Mr. T pop that all up. All right, so we got another trailer here. Halloween, the reboot, 2018.
reboot.
Is it a reboot or no? I guess it's technically it takes place.
Well, they're saying
in the future
in this new Halloween movie that
he already did the killings
that they're basically disregarding all the other Halloween movies
to a certain extent, right?
To a certain extent. I don't know if that means the second one, because the second one technically took place the same night as the first one. Did you see Halloween 2?
Yeah, I don't really remember much. But it's years ago, yeah.
So in Halloween 2, they took Laurie to the hospital, and Michael Myers disappeared at the end, and he went to the hospital to kill her. So the second one, which is, in my opinion, actually decent. It wasn't as good as the first, obviously, because the first is classic. But so I don't know if they're just. I think this one takes place after the second one, and the other ones are just not canon anymore. But
yeah, I think that's probably the case. I think they're basically like, oh, he got caught. He's been in this crazy prison that is actually kind of terrifying when they're walking around it.
Yeah, it had some like ominous, paranormal part of it at the beginning of the trailer. It was
Jamie Lee Curtis is like trained to be like a ultimate Michael Myers killer. She's like been like shooting mannequins and she's excited to like get a hold of them.
Right.
All of a sudden, a bus crashes.
It's going to be the classic Halloween movie, I feel like, but hopefully a little better. I don't know. The scene in the trailer where Michael Myers drops teeth into a stall.
That was creepy.
That was creepy, and I noticed that girl was the same girl that was holding the microphone for the guy trying to interview Michael Myers in the psych
jail
ward.
Or whatever,
so
I think she's English in this movie, maybe.
I heard an English accent, so I don't think things are looking too good for her.
Yeah, so it looks like there's for some reason, I don't know. So they're in this prison, right? Michael Myers is in this prison. Then they're on a bus. They're transporting him somewhere from the super prison to some other super prison, I guess.
Right, which makes sense.
And they probably only have one guard on this freaking bus. The bus flips. Long story short, the bus flips. Oh yeah, and all the freaking crazy people are on the street. So who knows what other kind of crazy people are out there with Michael Myers? So maybe they'll play a part in this too. I don't know. Or maybe they're just going to have a good life. I don't know.
If you're going to be in jail for 40 years, why do you need to move around that much? I don't know. There's probably going to be a reason why they're moving. I hope they explain that, because I'm obviously just going to walk the hell out of the theater after a minute. But anyway, those kind of movies are still pretty fun sometimes. Yeah. All right, so we got another horror movie. This one actually looks very, very cool. It's called Suspiria. And this is a remake, right? Suspiria is a remake. Yeah. The original came out in 1977, I believe, and Dario Argento was a director. It was an Italian horror film, which if you don't watch a lot of horror films.
Not much.
But I do. I'm a horror film fanatic.
Tony loves horror films.
Even when it comes to bad horror films. But the original Suspiria is not a bad horror film, but is an Italian one, which are extremely gory, almost over-the-top gory.
They're kind of artsy, too.
And they're kind of artsy at the same time. So, the original took place in a dance school, and then things escalate from there and get crazy. Now this new trailer is very reminiscent of the original, but a modern take, and I think the fact that Dario Argento is credited as a writer for this new movie,
it's very promising.
It's very promising, and I'm very excited. Dakota Johnson's in it, Tilda Swinton. I didn't recognize the old guy, but Dakota Johnson, I mean, she's in the 50 Shades trilogy, which is absolute garbage. So hopefully she's a decent actress in this.
The shots that they have in this trailer, they're very they're probably shot with older film, like cameras.
Yeah,
it was kind of grainy in certain spots. It looks really, really, really 70s.
They kind of had that 70s color palette.
Yeah, very cool.
I know with the film nowadays, a lot of people are obviously going to digital when they're filming. You know, like Christopher Nolan's famous for using IMAX and stuff like that. But directors still like the look of film, so they're trying to get digital cameras to film
with that texture.
That they don't have anymore. Now they can still film with film, but most people don't, obviously. So I don't know. They're trying to do it that way with this movie, but
I think it looks awesome.
And another thing,
it looks really cool. I don't know. Is it going to be released all around? Do you think?
I think it's going to be around Halloween time. I hope. Another thing with this trailer that I love that most trailers, most production studios don't get anymore is that this gets you hyped for the movie, but doesn't tell you anything about the plot. Nothing.
That plot, I had no idea what was going on.
You have no idea what was going on. And for a horror movie, it's awesome. But even other movies like Jurassic Park: Fallen Kingdom, the second trailer specifically tells you everything about the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
there's no middle ground anymore with trailers. Anyway.
No, it either tells you everything. Like, some trailers are so famous for just spoiling everything, and I don't know. Sometimes it makes you bummed out. It's like, well, the surprise is already ruined. Yeah. And like this movie, you have no idea what's going on. Doesn't mean it's going to be good, but it helps.
It might be cool. I'm curious to see what the plot is, at least. You know, how they want to do it.
I mean, it's obviously going to be reminiscent of the original,
sure,
which you haven't seen, but is good, but is definitely 70s Italian horror, which inspired Eli Roth. Do you know who he is?
Mm-mm.
He did like Cabin Fever and like, Hostel.
I like those movies.
He was in Inglourious Bastards, but he didn't direct it, obviously. But he was the Bear Jew.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and he's a hardcore, gory horror director, and he's was immensely inspired by Italian horror. He loves it. I think his wife's Italian, which probably helps.
That's cool. Let's get a little bit more lighthearted here. We got a movie called Dumbo. It's the Dumbo live action movie, ladies and gentlemen. And I'll tell you what, this Dumbo's the cutest freaking thing you'll ever see in your life. Blue eyes, very subtle, like little baby eyes. You just want to give him a big old hug. And your favorite actor's in it, Colin Farrell.
With one arm.
With one arm, by the way. I have no idea how he lost that arm. Probably another elephant stomped on it or something.
We'll find out.
But yeah, we'll hopefully find out in this movie.
We saw Michael Keaton in the trailer.
There was actually quite a few actors.
Yeah.
Danny DeVito. I mean, Tim Burton's directing it, so the trailer kind of had that. It's a kid's movie, but it's still going to be secretly terrifying. Yeah.
At the same time, like Edward Scissorhands.
Terrifying.
People say it's like a kid's movie. That movie's terrifying.
Yeah.
His imagery is just. I mean, some Tim Burton movies I despise, and some movies I absolutely love. I think his most underrated one is Sleepy Hollow. I absolutely
really
love
cool.
Sleepy Hollow.
Yeah.
It's a Halloween, mainstay, but this one, can he do a kids movie? I don't know.
I think he can pull it off.
You think?
Yeah. It's all about the dialogue and like not having like the weirdest scenes ever.
Right. Especially
with Dumbo. Dumbo's supposed to be like very pretty and like, a nice story where a freaking ugly elephant can fly,
Right. Well, he pulled off Big Fish. Did you ever see Big Fish?
Yeah, I got that on DVD somewhere.
With Ewan McGregor?
Yeah.
I thought that was a good movie.
That was pretty good.
And it wasn't a horror film.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty good. I actually liked that movie. I haven't watched that in forever, though. Yeah. There was a giant in that movie.
Yeah, there was.
So maybe he'll, translate the giant to the big Dumbo.
Yeah, there's always something goofy, in his movies. So I'm wondering if Johnny Depp will pop up because he's broke and he's best friends with Tim Burton. And he's like in most of his movies.
Just do some math. He'll be on set.
Yeah. I hope Johnny Depp is not in it because every time I hear about Johnny Depp being in a movie, I'm like,
who's that other girl that's always in all of his
Helena
movies?
Bonham Carter. She'll
probably be in it.
No, they broke up.
Oh, really?
They were married or dating. I don't know, but they broke up, and since then, I don't think she's been in a lot of his movies. We'll find out.
Hey, get rid of her. All right, now we're back to some scary shit again, but ladies and gentlemen, The Nun. So this is
The Conjureverse.
Yeah, they're basically creating their own MCU.
Yeah, they are.
This actually the trailer. I could see this movie being kind of scary, mostly for jump scares.
In
Mostly
a jump scare way.
Yeah.
But most of the Conjuring movies and the spin-offs, which are the Annabelle.
Yep.
They rely on jump scares. I mean, they have some creepy moments in them, but
for a lot of people though, because ghosts aren't really scary to a lot of people. Some people
are scared.
Some people are scared of ghosts, but you know what? I'm not one of those people. So jump scares scare the shit out of me. So I'm just like, I drop everything. You know.
See, jump scares don't really scare me. They just make me jump, but it's not something that lasts with you.
Yeah.
Like I just saw Hereditary a couple weeks ago. There were no jump scares in it, but that's the movie that like you'll be sitting there at night that night thinking about stuff that happened. You're like, holy crap.
Yeah.
Whereas these jump scares, they might scare you in that moment, but after that you're just like, oh, okay. And in the trailer, you can see the nun walking behind the girl,
some kind of catacomb.
And they don't acknowledge it. And I'm like, oh, are they not going to do a jump scare? That might be freaky if they just don't acknowledge it. And then, of course, and then a jump scare comes, and I'm like, oh, God.
And then another nun comes out of nowhere. So
Right.
apparently there's more than one nun.
Right.
So it shouldn't be called The Nun. It should be called The Nuns.
Right.
It's pissing me off.
Right. Well, and the news story that we were talking about earlier with the DCEU getting a new CEO or creative director, I'm not sure which one, he actually came from the Conjuring verse. So
Okay, cool. That's pretty sweet.
well, quality wise, we'll see how that.
Maybe it'll be like DC stuff with a bunch of jump scares. I guess there's a little bit more news that the Fox and Disney Marvel deal went through.
Oh, I heard that. That was actually official.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that tonight. So yeah, that's actually really good news. It's going to be
good.
exciting to see what they possibly will do with
the
X-Men, or if they want to go into the Ultimate universe where like Magneto's like a super god who can pick up like Thor's hammer. That's gonna be great. You know? And
the Fantastic Four, I just hope they don't. But I
love the
will.
Fantastic Four. That like they just what's the main guy in the Fantastic Four?
Mr. Fantastic?
Yeah, but I forget his actual name.
Reed Richards?
Reed Richards and like Doctor Strange and like all those guys. Like they're all like, and Xavier, they're all like the
smart guy.
Like the Senate of like the world, you know?
Yeah.
So like it would be good to see all those people in the one, room together talking.
Well, and they just need to take away the X-Men from Fox as soon as possible, because I just heard from everything I'm hearing about Dark Phoenix, it just sounds like another piece of crap.
Phoenix can't be done wrong.
Like Apocalypse.
Like
what about X3 though?
That's what I'm saying. Like that's why what I'm saying is it can't be done wrong. Like you can't do it wrong, or it's going to be.
They already have.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They
they're
already
do it
ruined
wrong twice, and that's the problem with when Marvel gets it.
She pops up in Apocalypse too, I think.
Yeah, she's the one who kills Apocalypse.
Yeah, she like.
Spoiler alert. Yeah,
but the thing is like. The whole like way she got Phoenix is so weird, because it's not really how it works. She
was born with it.
I thought she got it like when she like died or something. Like Jean Grey dies for a minute and then Phoenix brings her back or something.
No, I thought in the comics she always had it.
So it's like deep in her somewhere.
It was deep in her, and she always had that power, but she didn't know how to control it. Now I think X-Men: The Last Stand,
right?
Yeah, and X-Men: The Last Stand kind of touched on it, but just in a horrible way.
Yeah,
but. The Phoenix Saga, she always had that power. She just didn't know how to, and Xavier was trying to show her how to control it. But, I don't
even think Xavier knows really, though.
Right. And I think Fox has kind of just done X-Men to death. And most of the movies, I want to say most, half the X-Men movies are garbage and half of them are decent. But I want to see what Marvel's going to do with them. And it's just a crying shame that Hugh Jackman is not going to be able to be a part of the Avengers, because it should have been the four main with Spider-Man and Wolverine.
I'm ready for a new Wolverine, though, at this point. Even though Hugh Jackman really is like, he created the base of how it should be done.
He did. And Logan was the perfect send-off for that character.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, they got to get a new Wolverine, but who? And I don't want to see Tom Hardy.
I want someone
Tom Hardy plays everybody.
I want someone completely new, man. Like I want some guy that they find in the gym that's a good actor, and they're just like, all right, this guy is fucking jacked.
He better be
strong.
Ripped as hell.
Oh, God, you have to be.
Hugh Jackman, I mean,
he's ripped in all the right places.
He
doesn't overdo it.
Right, and if him and The Rock are contending for who's bigger beast, then this new guy better get on The Rock's level. Like, you better go train with The Rock for like a year.
Yeah, but I don't want him to be as big as The Rock. The Rock's too big.
Well,
he can play like freaking Colossus.
Wolverine in the comics is short. He's like
he's tiny.
5'4", 5'3".
Yeah.
And that's why
he's a Canadian little midget.
Well, people got pissed when Hugh Jackman got, because he's like 6'2", but then everyone fell in love with him later, the way he portrayed him. But
yeah,
you know, he was supposed to be short always. So I don't know if they're gonna go that route, but you know, I always want to trust in Marvel because everyone says they do everything amazing, and Kevin Feige has a vision for everything so far. I don't know how they're gonna bring it in.
He already has some stuff in the works, you know, unofficially.
Not everything Marvel does is great. You know, they just don't do anything horrible.
Mm-hmm.
But some of their stuff is painfully average.
Yeah, like Ant-Man's painfully average.
See, I like
the only redeeming thing of Ant-Man for me was the cast and the comedy. Like that was the best part, because the cast they were all funny to me. I thought it was great.
So the cast and the comedy, but
I wasn't a fan of just like the character or the movie in general.
See,
but Civil War was pretty cool.
Did you like him in the comics, Ant-Man the character?
Mm-mm.
Well, he's not the original Ant-Man, because Hank Pym's the original Ant-Man, who's usually the Ant-Man in the comics. And this one, it's Scott Lang.
Yeah.
I actually liked Ant-Man quite a bit. Now, does this have anything to do with Edgar Wright? Why you don't like Ant-Man? Do you know?
No.
Because Edgar Wright was supposed to direct. They filmed I don't know if they filmed any of it, but he was definitely in pre-production, and they fired him because of creative differences. And then they got some, I don't want to say patsy, but that's harsh, but they got some, you know, generic director that will listen to Kevin Feige, basically. And I've heard that a lot about Marvel directors, is they want yes men, because
it's important to their vision, I guess.
Marvel movies have a lot of studio interference, which normally is a horrible thing, but I think because Kevin Feige has such a, you know, direct vision for where he wants it to go, it's not that horrible of a thing. But I think they're learning to let go, though, and that, you know, they started to with Taika Waititi with Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah,
Thor Ragnarok is a completely outside the box.
It's the best thing in the MCU right now.
Between that and Civil War is my favorite movies. And yeah, I mean, Taika Waititi's awesome, but I don't think he's coming back. Like, he just wanted to do a one-off, and that was it. And you would think a movie about the end of the world, as far as Asgard is concerned, would not be a straight-up comedy, but it is.
Yeah, and it works. Like,
it works.
It's crazy. Yeah. It's honestly crazy to think how well it did, you know.
I loved it.
I did too.
I mean, that kind of brings us into our main topic, too. Our main movie of the week.
Good old Black Panther.
Good old Black Panther. Now, it just came out on Blu-ray, DVD, not too long ago.
No.
And we thought we would get to it, and we kind of have a difference of opinion on it, at least at first glance.
Yeah.
So, I guess we'll see. So,
yeah.
What is the story of Black Panther?
So, Black Panther, man. Freaking, we got, in Africa, the Black Panther basically protects 4 tribes. Originally there were 5 tribes, but what is it called? The Jabari.
The mountain tribe.
The mountain tribe. They didn't want anything to do with the vibranium technology. They said, get this away from us, we're out of here. And they hated everybody else. But the Black Panther basically united with the purple, or is it purple flower? The purple heart flower.
Yeah.
The Black Panther protects everybody in Wakanda, and the Wakanda hides from everybody. And this is kind of the origin story of how the Black Panther starts.
In general, yes.
The T'Challa, that Black Panther starts.
Now, T'Chaka, his father, they were in Civil War, Captain America, and T'Chaka was killed at the United Nations by Zemo, which they tried to blame it on the Winter Soldier.
Mm-hmm.
And T'Challa, you know, chased down the Winter Soldier in his Black Panther armor for the rest of the movie. And this takes place after Civil War, where T'Chaka's dead and T'Challa comes back to Wakanda and is expected to be expected to become the king. Now, in Black Panther lore, they
speak this way.
In Black Panther lore, they have the ritual combat to decide who becomes the next Black Panther. Now, apparently, in this movie, they decide that the only people that can challenge the Black Panther are people of royal blood or royal descendants.
It's like their best fighter in each clan kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, I'm going to get to my issues with the movie in a bit, but we're kind of just giving an overall census of the movie first, and then we'll get to what we thought of it. Now, he gets a challenge from M'Baku.
Yep. Who's in the Jabari tribe?
He's
the leader of the Jabari tribe, yeah.
And T'Challa wins, becomes king, and you get a little bit of a sense of Wakanda after that, after he becomes king, after,
Well, they start introducing, like, okay, this is all the technology that we have. You kind of get a glimpse of it when he goes and kills this whole terrorist organization just to get Nakia back.
Right.
So she can just show up at his ceremony, which is kind of odd to me.
Who is his...
Kills off this whole guerrilla terrorist organization.
It gives his ex. They never even talk about why she was there.
She was a spy. She was doing something. She was spying on these guerrillas to see like where they're getting something. They don't really get into it, but she's in deep state. She's a complete spy at this point, and T'Challa dives down out of this huge bomber plane, and you can see these awesome technologies in the spaceship that he's in. Dives down, kills all these terrorists off. They get Nakia back. And then they go back and do the ceremony and all that stuff. Right. And then we're back to see what vibranium is.
They introduce his mother,
sister,
Suri, and then they introduce Forrest Whitaker's character, who's like the shaman.
Mm-hmm. His name is Zuri, I believe. Yeah, Zuri.
And then they come to an appearance of Claw, which is Andy Serkis' character.
Best actor in the movie by far, in my opinion. Andy Serkis is just amazing.
Well, I actually disagree with you on that, but we'll get to that later. So Claw shows up, and he's tied to the opening scene where Killmonger's father and Claw stole vibranium from Wakanda, and they got out alive. T'Chaka tracks down Killmonger's father at the beginning scene, and then they trace Claw back to a South Korean in Busan casino there, where he's trying to sell the vibranium to the CIA.
Yep. So and this is where you get introduced to actually another cool character is Ross.
Ross
is cool. And he works for the CIA, and he's played by
Martin Freeman.
Martin Freeman,
from
who's
The Office.
From The Office, the British Office. And doesn't he play The Hobbit?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he
played Bilbo.
Bilbo, yeah. So you get introduced to probably the guy in the movie that has one of the most credits besides probably Forrest Whitaker and Andy Serkis.
Most cred, yeah, for sure. Well, Angela Bassett plays his mother.
Yeah, she's everywhere too. Actually looking pretty good in this movie, I ain't gonna lie. She's probably like almost 62, and she's looking good.
Yeah.
But so Claus shows up with his entourage. He comes in with probably like, I don't know, 10 or 15 different assassin goons that come in with them.
Yeah.
Big fight scene breaks loose. Because originally Claw was gonna buy this off of Ross was gonna buy it off of Claw. Ross brought some diamonds. Like, I don't know how much money in diamonds, and I'm guessing millions.
Yeah.
And
I didn't even notice the diamonds.
Yeah,
I just watched it yesterday.
Yeah, well, in typical freaking America, how we do it, we like to freaking,
One thing I want to mention, since we're both bearded men, is that during that scene, a lot of Claw's henchmen, including Claw, have beards.
Yeah.
And
that's the Marvel goon.
Well,
look.
and they kind of made it that way. Like, look at these guys; they got beards. They're intimidating.
They're all like 6'8".
Yeah, like if you're tall and you have a beard, you're intimidating, and you're a bad guy. Because good guys don't have big beards like that.
Yeah.
But
what's the character Okoye?
Oh,
yeah. She whoops ass in this.
She's
scene. She's kicking ass.
The general. And she's the leader of like the. I keep comparing it to Star Wars and how the Emperor had his red guards. Yeah. Because they're also red.
It's very similar to that, yeah. And they're all like completely dedicated to the throne.
Right. So they chase Claw, but they track down Claw at the end after he shoots his robotic arm missiles at their cars.
That's vibranium powered.
Which one scene is absolutely ridiculous is the scene with Okoye and his ex. And they shoot the car. The car's completely destroyed, except for her on the hood, and then the driver's seat with Okoye in it.
She does,
and she's unharmed.
She does do that really badass dive thing out of the car and takes her spear and catches.
Yeah,
that was cool.
But I saw that.
But the driver,
scene,
you're like,
I saw that scene.
Lives.
It was like out of a cartoon.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, come on now.
But it is Marvel sense.
But they track down Claw, but they let Claw escape because people are around with their camera phones, which I don't know why they couldn't just take Claw with them.
Well, they do. They take him with them, and then they ended up. They show up to
jail.
this very insecure or not secure at all. Jail cell. What's basically just an interrogation room with.
But the
glass.
the interrogation room should never have an outside wall.
Oh, I agree 100%. But we're also in South Korea here. I don't know how
South
they do
Korea
it, but
yeah, sure.
But and then this is a interesting part. Basically. Andy Serkis's character Claw is explaining to Ross hey, vibranium, it's in Wakanda. What do you mean Wakanda? Wakanda's just a shithole. It's a third world country. What do you mean?
Right.
Haha, you idiot. Guess what? No. And Ross is like, I'm going to believe this guy.
In his
100%.
Ganges South African accent.
Yeah. I'm going to believe this guy 1,000,000% right now.
Right.
And he goes outside the room. He kind of confronts T'Challa. And while this is happening, our boy, Michael B. Jordan, shows up. Killmonger busts a freaking huge hole in the wall. And they start shooting.
And his tribal mask that he stole earlier from the museum. And so they take Claw with them. T'Challa returns to
Ross
Wakanda.
is shot in this.
Ross is shot in the back. They
right in
put
the spine,
they put
much.
one of their beads inside of him to basically put him in like a coma.
Vibranium coma stabilizer thing.
So they return to Wakanda and they tell the leader of the border tribe, which is played by the guy from Get Out.
Yep. And he has a pretty big role in this movie.
Yeah, he does. And so then Killmonger kills Claw and brings his body to the border tribe.
He basically betrays his whole crew.
Yeah.
Because he has a bigger agenda in play.
Including his girlfriend.
Yeah,
which
is actually pretty hot.
Which which I have another issue with, but we'll get to that later. So then they return to Wakanda, and he exercises his right to the throne, basically, because he is the forgotten son of the prince that T'Chaka tracked down at the beginning of the film who stole vibranium with Claw. Mm-hmm. So one thing Killmonger obviously never told Claw who he was because Claw stole the vibranium with his father.
Yep.
So, and he didn't because he said he thought he was a stupid American.
He has a bigger plan in place, and he was playing basically. He was kind of playing a spy in a way as well.
Right, but
also he was like his whole job, Killmonger's whole job while working in the United States. In the comic books, he lives in New York. Right. He doesn't live in Oakland. And his whole job was basically he's like a SEAL basically. He's like a super SEAL. Right. And his job is to infiltrate governments when they're falling and take over and cut them off 100%. Right. So the U.S. can basically take over. So he's like a super trained spy basically.
Yeah. To bring down governments.
And he finds his moment when T'Chaka dies. He realizes, okay, now I can go into Wakanda and maybe do something here. Right when the new king is pressed. But the thing when they break in to take out Claw, when they try to grab Claw out of the prison, T'Challa realizes what is it? He wears this ring on his, or he has this ring on his neck that's the same ring as I have. This is kind of weird. So he confronts Forrest Whitaker before all this happens, before Killmonger shows up with a dead Claw, and he goes, what the hell's going on? What happened to Uncle whoever? I forget his name now. Yeah,
it was played by Sterling K. Brown.
Njobo.
So.
And he kind of goes into it like Forrest is like, yeah, I was actually sent to Oakland to watch him because we weren't sure what he was going to do. He tries to kill me, and T'Chaka shows up or stops it and kills Njobu. So he kind of finds out all this messed up stuff happened.
Well, and I like how the character they got to play, the young Forrest Whitaker, they kind of made him a little cross-eyed at the same time.
Yeah, dude.
They're like...
Dude, the old
So as soon as I saw it, I'm like, that has to be like Forrest's son, and it turned out to be him.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, what's wrong with his face?
Yeah. Well, the old T'Chaka has a really messed up eye, too.
Yeah, at the end, yeah.
You're like, whoa, dude.
When you go into the spirit
realm, which is kind of reminiscent of, I don't know
like
if it's
Lion King.
That, and I don't know if it's like a similar to realm as
Soul.
To the Soul Gem kind of realm, too.
From Infinity War.
But,
yeah, his eyes, like... Not only can he not close it until the very end, but it like droops down.
Yeah, really bad too.
Right. So Killmonger comes in, challenges T'Challa to ritual combat because it's his, royal blood right.
Mm-hmm.
And he beats T'Challa and throws him over a waterfall. Becomes the king.
Whoops his ass too.
Yeah.
Actually, it was pretty even until like all the weapons were out of T'Challa's hands, and then it was game
Killmonger's beast.
Yeah.
And he's got all these tattoos over his body that symbolize each kill that he racked up while he was in the military.
Looks
or
really
in
cool.
Oakland.
He looks badass as fuck. Could be in Oakland too.
Right. Yeah, who knows?
Yeah.
So
his
train of thought is not only do he want to get revenge for the people that, killed his father and, left him for dead basically in Oakland, and but he's essentially fighting for all African people worldwide, and he wants Wakanda, who possesses this advanced technology, to send their weapons and technology to
each
informant, African informant worldwide, to basically rise up against colonists. Now, we'll get into the relevance of these political story threads later, but T'Challa is rescued by fishermen of the mountain tribe, Jabari tribe, and brought to their base of operations in the mountains. And T'Challa's family retreats into the mountains, and it's his ex, his mother, and the sister, and Martin Freeman's character Everett.
So during this process, while they're traveling, what Nakia does before this is she grabs one of the purple heart shaped flowers to bring with them to Jabari.
One of the last ones before Killmonger decides to burn it all.
Yeah, and this is after he goes through his ceremony and goes into the spirit realm and sees his father and talks to his father. And he wakes up, he's tense, he has quite the vision, and he says, I burn all these, because there's not going to be no other king after me. Nakia, before all this happens, grabs a little purple flower, brings it up to the Jabari, because she was originally going to give it to M'Baku.
Yeah.
And she was going to say, you're the only person that can do this, because T'Challa's dead.
They thought T'Challa was still dead.
And little do they know is that the fisherman from the Jabari tribe brings T'Challa back and has him under deep ice, and they're stating, if he moves from this, he dies. So what they do is they grind up the good old purple heart and they feed it to him, and he has the Black Panther power back. He wakes up out of a spiritual dream, and during that spiritual dream, he speaks to his father about him killing Njobu, which is pretty tense, because he goes through a situation where you guys have been hiding these powers from the world forever. We could have been helping these people all along, and that's the kind of king I want to be.
Especially people that were from Wakanda.
Yeah.
So Killmonger is of Wakandan descent, and they just left him.
They left him behind, which is really, really sad. And
it is sad.
And it was to protect his people. We find out from T'Chaka, but it's ultimately something that T'Challa doesn't agree with, and he says, I won't be a king like that.
And they would have prevented this whole mess if they would have just got him to begin with.
He could have been the Black Panther. Killmonger could have been the Black Panther,
Well, but he wouldn't have had the same attitude towards Wakanda or even colonists, as he claims in general. They basically try to recruit the mountain tribe to come back to the Wakandan city to overthrow Killmonger. T'Challa T'Challa and his sister and his ex and his mother stays with the mountain tribe, but they go into the city to try and prevent the weapons from leaving the borders that Killmonger wants to send to all their spies worldwide.
Yep.
And battle ensues.
Man. We got rhinos running around. We got the general and her Red Guard running around.
And Shuri's got her little arm
cannons.
Panther cannons,
yeah,
which are sweet.
Those are pretty sweet. And Nakia gets these little Xena Princess Warrior style discs.
Yeah.
Those are pretty cool too.
Yeah.
It seems like they would just cut the hell out of things, but for some reason, nothing cuts into the Black Panther suit in general.
Right.
Unless it's like...
Well, unless they're in the underground train in the final fight where the like sonic barrier disables
it deactivates the vibranium or whatever.
So and then Martin Freeman's character, who they state was a Navy pilot earlier, Shuri has him remote access pilot one of their ships that she throws a tracker on to take down the remaining supply ships with the weapons before they get to Wakanda's border. Yep. So all this is happening, and then the mountain tribe comes in at the last minute to save the day, essentially.
And they're actually pretty strong.
They are.
And then Ross is flying in a spaceship, like an artificial, like virtual reality spaceship, controlling the regular spaceship, blowing up all the people that have the weapons, taking it off to like China, Russia, and all those other places.
Right. And then
one of the cool scenes during that fight scene, I did write this down because I thought it was so badass. Black Panther, the T'Challa Black Panther, not Bad Panther. That's why I called the
gold one.
Killmonger Bad Panthers. Yeah, but he dives onto this rhino and straight up tackles it and puts it in like a headlock. And I thought that was the most badass thing. I was like, damn, that was cool. Yeah. But he's utilizing his suit really well because he's using a lot of that sonic boom after he gets all like the...
I love how we call it the sonic boom. We're so, attuned to video games. Yeah. It's just like, okay...
He uses it like 4 times during the whole fight.
It's almost like he had a bar on the side of the screen to where like his power's building up.
Yeah, like do his ultimate.
Press X right now. Boom.
Boom. It was so sick. It reminded me of like a lot of the Matrix style like scenes where they blow up and it does like the little 360 zoom. Pretty cool. Right. But yeah... I thought that was a really cool part of the fight. The fights were really good in this movie. I really enjoyed the fights.
Yeah, they were pretty solid fights.
A lot of them are really intense. But I guess back to the main battle, they fall down into the train station area where they're the vibranium collection area. And then they get into a really heated battle there. And they're exchanging. And during this battle, like you were saying before, their suits get deactivated here and there because of the trains going through.
Right. Earlier in the movie, Shuri said that she had to put that essentially like sonic barrier on the side because vibranium is very unstable.
Volatile, yeah.
So they do that, and that's why their vibranium suits are essentially destabilized when they're on. So they're fighting, and T'Challa ends up stabbing Killmonger through the chest.
Well, their suits were kind of deactivated at this point because otherwise he wouldn't be able to penetrate.
Right. So...
and this is with a primitive weapon, too. It's not like a vibranium weapon.
Well, I think it was a vibranium spear, though.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they take him... He talks about how his father wanted to bring him to Wakanda one day, and they were talking about Wakanda sunsets earlier in the movie, so he brings him up.
This is when it gets kind of sentimental for the two because, they're still related, and they don't
cousins.
have any history. You know?
And he lets him see a sunset, and T'Challa offers... save him, but essentially lock him up, and Killmonger chooses to essentially...
basically die. He says...
I have it written.
Yeah.
Well, he says it's better to be... What was it? It was like...
It's better to die than to have a lifetime of slavery or something like that.
Right.
And he talks about like his ancestors going to America on the ships to be slaves, basically.
And the ones that jumped into the water to rather drown than become a slave. So, and then at the end of the movie, obviously the tribes stop fighting, even though they don't know that Killmonger's been killed. But the general, I forget her name again.
Her name
Okoye.
is Okoye. Yep.
Her and the border tribe leader are lovers, and they're Wakabi, and their relationship basically
Deteriorates a little bit.
Well, it deteriorates a little bit, but their relationship is solid enough that it basically ends the conflict because they don't want to keep fighting each other because they are, members of the same nation. So then the movie proceeds to go back to Oakland where, T'Challa says that he purchased the original building that Killmonger lived when his father was killed by T'Chaka, and they're going to turn it into essentially the first
it's basically
like
the beginning
center.
Of the beginning of the hubs that he creates around the world, because after this whole movie and like the stuff that he learned from his ancestors, that he wants to bring Wakanda to the world.
It's like an embassy.
Yep.
A Wakandan embassy in the United States, and they base it in Oakland. Then the first after credits scene, you see T'Challa in the United Nations in Switzerland opening Wakanda up to the world, and they don't even know.
And none of them know. Like
Right.
he starts telling everybody about all this technology they have, and they're like, "Holy crap! You could like save the world. This could be world peace."
Right.
And that's kind of the goal, I think, for T'Challa, is to basically world peace it.
Right.
And
then so the last after credit scene is
we see our boy
Bucky Barnes.
Yeah.
And he's with Armless.
Yep.
Well, he's got one arm.
He's kind of in a rehab kind of thing going on.
Right. Well, they're trying to get the brainwashing, out of him.
This is really the best way to do it, because the Wakandans have all the technology. He's off the grid. He's kind of...
And you see Suri in there trying to basically telling him that she wants to start showing him, all their technology.
She makes him a really fun... you'll find out in Infinity War that she makes him a very, very cool arm. But yeah, that's the extent of...
So that's the plot of the movie.
Good old Black Panther, yeah.
So my first question to you is, what did you think of it overall then?
The second time around, this is the second time I ever watched it, was yesterday.
My second time as well.
Yeah, I thought the first time I watched it, I didn't get as much detail. Obviously, when you're in a theater, you can't just pause and rewind, and there's stuff that you miss. The second time around, I actually took my time. I paused it a lot, took some notes in. The story is fun for a Marvel movie because it's kind of an intro origin style story for Black Panther. Even though he did have the powers previously, but it kind of goes over like what Wakanda's all about, this and that. It's definitely different than any other Marvel movie that they've put out, mostly because it doesn't. The storyline is built much more different than all the other ones, and what I mean by that is it reminds me of like an anime in a weird way, like the way they introduce characters dialogue wise, and the way they the pacing of the
a little bit.
Pacing of the movie is much different than a lot of the other movies. Ultimately, I thought it was pretty good. The credit that it has received over like the last year, I don't think it's as deserved. I think there's much better Marvel movies out there.
Well, that Black Panther is currently the MCU's highest rated movie on Rotten Tomatoes at 96%.
And I think Thor Ragnarok's next, maybe? Or is it Civil War? I forget.
I'm not sure. But
out of all the movies, I think this one, I like the new introduction, and it's a character that I wasn't familiar with fully before. But it's not one of my favorites for sure.
I'd read some Black Panther comics before I saw the movie in the theater. This is my second time seeing it as well, and I enjoyed it. I read the new line, the new story thread that came out right before the movie came out. I like Black Panther as a character. I read a lot of Black Panther crossovers with the X-Men when I was younger.
Yeah. Because
obviously in the comics, he's married to Storm.
Yep. He has a completely different life in the comics.
Yeah, he has a completely different life.
He's actually much younger, too.
Yeah. So, but, I guess I'll start with what I thought overall, but that is kind of a taste of my issues with the movie. I think the movie is very solid Marvel movie. I didn't like it as much the first time around. I think watching it the second time around, I actually learned to appreciate it more, which actually speaks a little bit to the quality of the movie, because
the direction too, a little bit.
And the direction, because normally when you watch movies that aren't quite as good the second time around, you notice more mistakes, whereas I think I noticed more good things in it and a few less mistakes, but then I noticed a few more. I thought it was a solid movie. I would give it, if
we're doing 10 stars, what would you do?
If we were doing 10 stars, I think it is a solid 6.
I'd say it's around like 8.
Let's see where.
But the thing that really brings it down to an 8 for me, the action's great. I like the action. The character development's really, really good. But the development through dialogue, some of the jokes I don't like.
Didn't hit. The typical Marvel humor.
There was a joke that Siri did to T'Challa.
What are those?
That joke just ruined that whole scene for me.
Nothing dates your movie.
She's very smart, She's incredibly smart engineer. She's like a genius, basically.
Right.
And I just didn't expect that.
Yeah.
She's still a child though, too.
Yeah. And that's So if I get to some of my issues.
Yeah.
Even though I appreciate the movie a little bit more the second time around, I did find myself a little bored. I actually thought most of the time, the second act of a movie, you tend to get a little bored because that's the low point of the movie. I was more bored in the first part of the movie. Mm-hmm. Now, I think, so you thought this was a very unique Marvel movie, whereas I thought it was a very generic Marvel formula type movie. I think it was on par to like an Iron Man 1, that typical origin story movie. Mm-hmm. I think if this movie would have came out in 2008 though, it would have been much better received in my mind. I think after 10 years of MCU movies, it's kind of a little stale at this point, the typical Marvel story thread.
Yeah.
But that's not to say it's a bad movie. But at the same time, the political themes that are talked about in this movie wouldn't have been as relevant 10 years ago.
10 years ago, people would have got it, but in the climate of what's going on in the U.S. like now, and like when this action movie came out, when they were developing the movie, it definitely makes sense.
Right, and I think those are part of the reasons why it became so big. That, the political relevance of the plot, and also I get why African American children are idolizing Black Panther so much, because he was really the first, black main superhero.
Yeah.
You had a lot of sidekicks before there were side characters or even bad guys, but you never had a main hero.
Yeah.
Or a main nation like, Wakanda was. So, and it's good for them, and it's kind of the same thing as Wonder Woman, because Wonder Woman's like the first woman-led superhero movie.
Yeah.
So even though that movie has serious problems with it, it was so big because women resonated with it so much. So I get that point, but
I think with the reason why I say that I like how they did it with this, like the style of movie that they did for Black Panther, it wasn't like a world villain. To a certain extent there was, but it wasn't like the Earth is done kind of villain. And I like that it was like a local Wakanda problem. That was kind of cool.
Right. The storyline was much smaller. It's not like... It
wasn't like, we got to save the Earth again.
Yeah.
And I like how they scaled that back a little bit for this, because it kind of gives you a sense of like what kind of hero he is. He cares for his country kind of thing. It's kind of like
Ant-Man had a similar type plot.
Yeah. And Captain America is kind of I feel like is similar to like a Black Panther, where he's like all about his country kind of thing.
Right.
And I like that.
Well, yeah. Cap and T'Challa have similar views when it comes to questioning what is done. So, T'Chaka ran his country a certain way. T'Challa's questioning his father and how he ran the country. Whereas, Cap, Steve Rogers in the 40s, they were about freedom, and now he woke up in the modern day and he's realizing that not everything is run the way it should. So a lot of people take Captain America, he's just about America and nothing else, no matter what. Cap is about, I think, more about freedom. And if America doesn't stand for freedom, then he doesn't stand for America, even though he's Captain America.
Yeah.
So, the acting in this movie I thought was really solid. Andy Serkis, as you said, you thought was the best character in the movie. His South African accent was pretty solid, even though he's from London.
I just love that guy.
I love him too.
Yeah.
All the African accents were really good, I thought.
Forrest Whitaker's was a little forced to me.
A little forced. I thought the best actors in the movie were Sterling K. Brown, who plays Killmonger's father.
Yep.
and Michael B. Jordan, who was Killmonger. And I thought the best scene in the movie was when Killmonger went back to his apartment.
I love
and
that
spoke
scene.
to his dad when
he was
the soul
transitioning
world.
into the Black Panther.
Yeah, when he was transitioning, I thought that was an excellent scene. Sterling K. Brown is an excellent actor. He's like the second coming of Denzel Washington.
I agree,
and he doesn't get as much parts. Like if you saw the People vs. O.J. Simpson on Netflix,
I've not watched it yet. Yeah.
He is absolutely brilliant in that show. So I thought a lot of the best scenes had to do with those two characters. The Killmonger was a solid villain with pretty good motivations. Now, a lot of people were saying his motivations were generic, but I don't think they were. I mean, I think his...
You have to put yourself in his shoes, I guess, to understand everything fully.
The way he went about things, he was kind of like he wasn't willing to hear anybody else's opinion. So I think they thought that was a little generic, but he was just really, really angry.
Yeah, which is understandable. I mean, his life is pretty much like in shambles for the last, 20 years or something, or 15 years. I have no idea how old he is in this movie.
Right. I thought, I don't know, I'm probably going to butcher her name, Latita Wright as Suri, his sister, she was a standout. She was awesome, and that's why they feature her in Infinity War.
Yeah.
And
she's very smart. I think she plays a huge role in every single tech that's in that city.
Right.
So.
And I think Winston Duke is M'Baku.
Yeah.
Literally, this was like his first movie role ever.
I thought it was great.
And he held his own against these powerhouse actors. And he actually had quite a bit of charisma in the movie. And it's like, this is his first role.
I agree. And that's why they brought him back for Avengers as well, I think. Like, he was just good,
Right. And then, Claw actually got some good amount of screen time in this, where I feel like in Age of Ultron, when he got his arm ripped off by Ultron, I feel like they didn't even explore him. Like, I didn't even know at first when I saw it, that he was really the same Claw as the comics.
I didn't even know it was Andy Serkis at first.
Yeah. Oh, in Age of Ultron?
Yeah.
He
The Claw in the comics is much, much different. He looks completely different. But, like, this guy's sense of humor, he's actually really funny. It's just a great character all around.
Well,
good villain because he's a scary guy.
When we talk about differences from the comics, I had a few issues with that as well. The one major issue with the comics I had was that in the Black Panther comics I've read, the ritual combat was open to anyone of Wakanda, not just royal blood.
That makes sense. So
the Black Panther in the country was always the best fighter in the country, no matter what family they came from. So I didn't kind of like that aspect of it. And another thing was that in Civil War, T'Challa already has the Black Panther costume. So as soon as his father is killed, he's using the Black Panther costume and already has like the super strength. But he hadn't won any ritual combat at that point. So I don't know. Maybe I haven't read enough Black Panther comics to know, or they assume that if there's no time to do a ritual combat, that the son automatically gets it. But he seemed proficient in the suit in Civil War before anything even happened.
I don't know if that's anything they actually explained, because when he goes through the first ceremonial fight, before, when they're all asking everybody, do you want to do it? He actually drinks the anti-venom or whatever the heck it is to take that out of him. So he had it. He was using it.
But he shouldn't have been able to use it if he hadn't won the right to use it.
That's what I was wondering about as well. Like, I guess I was kind of confused by that too, because the ceremony makes no sense then, unless that ceremony is just to be the king.
Yeah. I don't know. So he was already using the Black Panther suit and using basically the super soldier flower prior to actually winning the title.
Yeah.
So, like, if T'Challa has a son, can he suit up as Black Panther and have the super soldier flower before he's king?
That would be my guess. And I think it's mostly because there's more than one protector. They pass down the protector to the trainer. But I think the ceremony may have just been to be king.
Well, in the comics, they have a character called White Wolf, which I think Bucky actually becomes.
White Wolf is Canadian. Is that a part of like the Weapon X program with like
no, I thought
Maverick and all them?
No, he kind of gets like a Black Panther-esque suit in Wakanda, and he protects Wakanda. And I think in the comics it was Bucky. So that's why when people saw the after credit scene, they thought, oh, he's going to be White Wolf in Infinity War. Which
I know you're talking about now. I thought it was White Knight though.
It might have been White
Yeah.
Knight, but
Something like that.
another problem with the comics that I had, it was kind of a minor problem, but it bothered me so much in the movie, is Michael B. Jordan's hair.
Oh, I love it.
You loved it?
I wish I could do my hair
I
like that.
absolutely hated it. I thought it was so distracting and ridiculous, but if you look at Killmonger in the comics, he also has...
He has long hair in the comics.
He has really long hair, like down to his elbows, and it's like a Jerry curl, so
Yeah.
it's equally ridiculous.
Yeah,
so,
but he's like super savage looking in the comics
yeah.
too.
So
Yeah.
I mean, I understand why they did it. It's just it was so distracting, but it's almost like he was going for like, you know, our haircuts, the modern white guy haircut.
Yeah, well, it
but-
kind of is. It's like, but with like
It's
the
just
dreaded
long.
style hair, and then he kind of puts it. Yeah,
yeah, puts it aside.
yeah,
I mean, I guess that's not a problem with the comics. It's a difference in the comics.
yeah. It's just
but,
different. Yeah.
I mean,
I'll tell you one thing I really enjoyed about this movie was the music was on point the whole time.
see,
Like I loved like every time I like say Killmonger's walking into the throne room, it's like boom, I'm like yeah, maybe I'm on a freestyle rap.
see, and I feel like I'm the one nitpicking the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I love the soundtrack, the African soundtrack, and the beats
Yeah,
that he was getting. Yeah, like the Lion King African
Yeah,
music.
yeah.
But then he was getting the sweet beats at
and
the
then
same
you'll get
time.
like Kendrick Lamar out of nowhere doing
Right,
some rapping.
which I understand because he's from Oakland and he's an outsider, so that's why they were going with that soundtrack. But
Yeah.
there was one scene that bothered me really bad, and that's when they brought him into the throne room in handcuffs, and he was like, "Hi, Auntie," and he was telling him who he was and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
They're like,
was
say
a-
my name,
Right. It
ask
was
me who I am or whatever.
It was a super dramatic scene, but then all of a sudden they went to the beats. So it was
I
like
thought
the
that was
regular
cool.
soundtrack, and then all of a sudden it was boom, tsk, boom, tsk, boom, you know, like
I thought that was sweet though.
But I was like, it kind of ruined the scene for me.
Really?
Like, I understand the other times when they played that music,
Yeah.
but like that particular time, it was like they were playing like hip hop beats in the background, but like it was supposed to be super dramatic, and I was like, well, it kind of took me out of the scene a little bit.
Yeah. I kind of feel you on that.
But
I thought that scene was pretty cool though. Like just the way like because it was very very tense, and then the one leader with the huge
oh, the lip thing,
little lip
yeah,
thing.
the lip disc.
Who are you? Or whatever the hell he says.
yeah.
I don't know. And I think that was like you have to be addressed to be able to fight for the throne or something.
Right.
Because he rattles into his Wakandan name, and that's when that was cool when the music came into that way to me.
Yeah.
But
It kinda
that was when shit hit the fan for
Yeah.
T'Challa for sure.
I mean, it kind of took me out of the scene a little bit. But
Yeah.
I think overall the soundtrack was great.
Yeah, I thought it was really cool. It was much different than all the other movies.
It's unique, yeah.
Yeah.
Marvel movies are known for having super generic stock soundtracks, and this did not. It had a very unique soundtrack, so which I liked, and the costumes, the production design of Wakanda, everything looked great in this movie. The only problem I had with that part of it, it's not even a problem. It's I wanted more of it, and I didn't get it.
Yeah.
So like I wanted to see daily Wakandans on the street, and they showed a little bit of it. I just wanted more.
It was
didn't
like
get
what
it.
they did show was very crowded all the time. Like the
Yeah.
city's that freaking crowded there. I mean,
Well,
geez Louise.
I wanted more of like how the everyday Wakandan use their technology too, and we
Yeah.
just didn't get enough time with it because it was overloaded with setting everything
Yeah.
up.
Speaking of technology, what did you feel about the spaceships being implemented into this movie? Like, I feel like
How does vibranium make them have?
yeah,
spaceships?
the thing I think they honestly like Marvel was just like, listen, we gotta put something in this movie that we can put as a toy maybe
Right.
or like something because like
Well, it looked like it had feathers.
the spaceship was just a little too much, you know. Like some
Yeah.
of their tech was a little too much. Like I'll tell you what the weirdest tech to me is when they were in the spaceship at the beginning before they kill all those terrorists and guerrillas. In the beginning of the movie, the little black sanded technology that they have that can recreate like scenarios that are going on, like
Right.
it's like a GPS.
Right.
When Ross uses it to fly the spaceship at the end of the movie or whatever,
Right.
the fake spaceship, the VR spaceship. That was a little much to me. I thought it was really cool, but I want to know how that's powered really bad.
Yeah.
And what do you think about the spaceships?
I liked how what you're talking about,
he like picked up the truck.
yeah,
That's
he
the thing.
picked it up out of the design. I like how it kind of that and their communicators kind of resembled soil, and that their power and technology came from the soil. So I kind of like that.
Yeah.
But it's not like Man of Steel where it's supposed to be like a futuristic society, but yet their communicators are like pieces of crap, and you can't even see who they are.
I did like how like the sand when it popped up on their communicators, like you'd see the sand in the background. That was kind of cool. I just don't know how it works.
Right.
I'm sure they probably want to explain something like that.
Yeah, I mean, they got a meteor that crashed. That's the hardest metal in the universe, but how does that translate to spaceships and being able to heal people's vertebrae and
I just really feel
that.
like they put in the spaceships just to have like something flying around.
Right.
I think that's like Disney's thing.
I don't know, but I mean, it played
a huge
Marvel movie,
part
so
in the end of the movie. So.
You're not going to get super into it, and it's you got to have when you're watching these superhero movies, you got to have a little suspension of belief.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
So you can't be like, oh, that's not realistic. Well,
no, believe me, I agree. But I just think they added that to the movie just to like add a spaceship.
Oh, I'm sure
they
did
because every single movie has a spaceship in it.
Yeah, and it's like that'd be going back like Transformers. They literally have Transformers just to sell toys.
Yeah,
like Michael Bay.
Pretty much.
Michael Bay has had a Transformer in a movie for like I remember there was one. It was a girl Transformer. She was in it for like 3 seconds. But they put the toy out. She got killed in 3 seconds. But they're like, "Oh, check out the new girl Transformer."
Like, at least we made $1 million off this toy.
Right. What'd you think of Stan Lee's cameo?
It was pretty good. He's in the South Korean underground casino. Basically, T'Challa wins, walks away. Right. Stan Lee basically does something completely illegal that you can never do in a casino. Right. Take someone else's chips. So that's pretty cool. I'm into that.
I heard that they've filmed his cameo for like the next like 8 movies ahead of time.
Well, he is what, 80 something?
He's 95.
So you have to plan ahead here with this guy. I mean, but we can always pull a freaking
the de-aging.
Yeah, the de-aging. Yeah. I mean, it's a thing.
Right.
It's scary, man.
Now I'm gonna get into. Well, I had one major issue. I feel like I'm just picking the movie apart, but the movie had some solid, like I just said, the soundtrack was great. The acting was solid. The directing, Ryan Coogler, he wrote it and directed it. I thought he did a very good a very good job. There was one scene where Killmonger took over the throne, and when he's walking into the throne room, the shot starts upside down and turns. It's like he's turning Wakanda on its head. Yeah. And their world's upside down. That was a cool shot.
Like a little symbolism there.
Yeah, there's a lot of good moments in this movie, but I did have some issues that it suffered from the typical Marvel villain problem, in that I thought he was more of a 3-dimensional villain as far as his motivations were concerned, but the ending fight looked like a PS3 cutscene.
It wasn't a good fight. They're both very strong. Well, the only way to, for them to kill each other was to have that destabilization or whatever.
And that's the problem. Marvel villains, Kevin Feige even came out and said that they're no longer going to do villains that have the exact same power as the hero because it becomes redundant. Yeah. And that's kind of what happened here. And also when the hero or the villain is completely indestructible, it takes away tension from any fight. Yeah. Like, you don't think they're going to get hurt at all.
Yeah, ever. I think the fighting scene between T'Challa and Killmonger when they were doing the ceremonial fight was much more intense than the one at the end of the movie.
Because they could have died.
Yeah, and the fighting was good in that part of the movie. All the Black Panther fighting at the end was all CGI stuff.
Well, even the Black Panther fighting above ground was still pretty decent. It's when they went underground in the train. And the whole thing was CGI. Nothing.
Even the
environment
in Japan.
Like above ground, I feel like they were still like on a location. Yeah. The train thing was completely CGI, and it was turning into like a PS3 cutscene. And it was just like, well, it's kind of lame.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Like, there were way better fights during the movie than that. Like the casino fight, for example. That was a cool fight. Like everyone was fighting really well in that.
I don't know why they didn't shoot any of them in the casino scene. So like the bad guys were like walking up to the Wakandans and like engaging in a fist fight. Why didn't they take out a gun and just shoot them?
They even mentioned in the movie like, I thought there were no guns allowed here. So they brought them in.
Yeah.
They had them.
But they didn't even use them. So like they're going to fight Okoye and she's got her spear. And I remember seeing a guy and he was like trying to approach her with a spear. I'm like, you have a gun.
Just shoot her in the head.
Yeah. She might have blocked it or whatever, but they weren't even trying.
She could have been like super like quick with her spear that way, but
right.
I mean, I believe she may have been, but
right.
But yeah, I don't really have much to complain about in the movie. Mostly, I was thinking of like funny stuff, like at the end of the movie, when the spaceship finally shows up in Oakland, and the kid goes, "Is that what is that? What does he say? Is that a space Bugatti?"
Oh, space, yeah.
That actually made me laugh like out loud. So
the
Bugatti spaceship. That's what he says.
Yeah, the Bugatti spaceship.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, and some of the comedy hit like that, and some of the what are those, like we talked about earlier.
Yeah, some of the dialogue was pretty garbage, but other than that, like the pacing was okay in the movie. Like it actually went from scene to scene really well. I wasn't like super bored in any areas. I think probably the most bored I was is when they were doing like the relationship building between T'Challa and Nakia. Like I didn't really I without those scenes, I still would have known that they were into each other.
Well, like at the end when he kisses her and asks her to stay, you know she's gonna stay the whole time.
Yeah,
and it's like
they should have just cut straight to like some kind
of
ceremony.
It was like their first kiss, but I'm like, wasn't she his ex? They would have already.
Yeah, yeah. That scene was a little bit better, mostly because it showed like her like worrying about him maybe dying like in that fight. But all the other scenes, like when they were just like walking around like Wakanda before Killmonger even shows up, they're like, "Hey baby girl, you know you should stay here with me. I love you, girl." Like that kind of shit. Like wasn't like super necessary because I could already feel that tension between them when he went to go get her from the terrorists.
Right.
But I think I don't know how long this movie was originally, but I felt like it wasn't as long as they thought it was going to be, so they started adding random stuff.
Right.
Because there's only so far you can go with just like a regional problem. Like with a world problem, they could have like a 6-hour movie. You know what I mean?
And that's what they do with a lot of the movies. They film extra footage and cut it down. I think Suicide Squad, when they filmed the original cut, was like 3.5 hours long, and that's why it's so disjointed. Is because they filmed too much.
Yeah. If you have too much dialogue, it's so hard to splice things together. I'm sure.
Right. I have some minute problems that don't make sense.
I love these.
I'm going to throw these at you.
Yeah, give it to me.
Okay. So I think these are hilarious. And it's like, this is literally when you're just picking apart a movie, just like trying to trash it and destroy it, which I still like this movie. I think it's solid. Honestly, it'd probably even be like a 6.5 for me. It's one of Marvel's better movies than worse movies, but still, every movie has these parts, even great movies, that don't make sense. I mean, the famous part is when in Braveheart, in the big battle scene, you can see the car in the background.
Oh, yeah. Dude, I forgot all about that. Oh, so you got some of these style things.
Yeah,
huh?
so,
right.
Okay, so when Killmonger is at the museum, and they're doing their little heist to steal the vibranium weapon, his girlfriend was working at the cafe. Yeah. How long was she working at that cafe before they decided to do this heist? Did she have to get that job like 3 months earlier?
That's actually very true.
And go to work every single day at a cafe at a museum? Yeah,
they're like, this is the big plan here, right?
Right. So, but if it's her first break, she was just like, I'm going on lunch. If it was her first day, she would have been training. Yeah, she would have been standing behind a guy.
That is true. Yeah, like
she probably would have went to lunch with him too. I'm just talking in the real world.
She served the cocktail to the
coffee,
woman, but like,
how'd she learn how to make the cocktail?
And obviously, it tasted fine for a little bit because she was drinking it. Like it wasn't her first day on the job, 100%. Yeah, what's going on there?
That's just something I noticed. Like they're doing this heist and she's working there. I'm like, how long was she work? Did she go through an interview process? Did she have,
like what's her resume look like?
Yeah, what's her resume look like?
Yeah,
I'm a mercenary.
terrorist.
Yeah,
I'd like to work at this coffee shop.
Right. So I just noticed that was kind of silly.
Yeah.
Another thing I noticed was I've heard this before, but so I heard this comment and I watched it again, but I thought it the first time when they were going to do the ritual combat for the first time, they were in boats above the cliff. Then all of a sudden they were in the bottom of the cliff, right?
Yeah.
There were people on the cliffs going all the way up to the top.
Yeah,
how do those people get there?
Yeah, that is a good question. Like, so they were like, so leading up to this scene, they're all on these boats, like tons of boats, and all of a sudden, all the guards, they knock down their vibranium spear, and these little like water suction things open up, so the waterfall stops.
Right.
But there's still a little hole. There's still a little bit of water left, and that's where the ceremonial fight is going. I'm trying to build a little vision for you guys on this podcast here. So when the scene starts, when the battle's about to begin, T'Challa's dropped off in a spaceship into the water. He walks out and he looks up and he sees It's how high do you think this is? Like 8 stories or
100
something?
feet.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah.
100 feet into the air. All these people are hanging out on ledges, but somehow they got there. I don't know if there's
And
an underground system.
It looks like spectators in a Street Fighter video game.
Yeah. Like
they're just moving around like this.
Yeah, are there like catacombs or something they walk through to get to these areas?
I don't know.
But yeah, that
and the ledges are like a foot wide. So
I was waiting for someone to fall off that
Yeah.
thing. That's dangerous. There's kids up there hanging out, playing around.
So it could have took hours for everyone to get there, but would the spaceship have to drop each person off on each ledge individually, then pick them up?
I need answers to that. Like, can we talk to?
Goofy.
We need to be able to talk to somebody about this.
Right.
Maybe we can get Ryan Coogler on the line. Oh, Ryan, is that you?
Hey guys, it's me, Ryan.
Right. Well.
Yeah, spaceships.
Oh, thanks, Ryan. Appreciate that, buddy.
Right.
Appreciate that.
Another
info.
thing that I noticed was, like, I don't even know, it was like X-Men style, but like every time their necklace turned into Black Panther suit, their clothes like ripped apart. So like if they were to take the suit back off, they'd be completely naked.
Oh, really? I didn't even notice that.
The suit didn't go over their clothes. I rewinded like 8 times to see their clothes like rip apart when the suit came on.
Dude, that's not economical at all.
No, and you notice
I mean,
the suit's very form-fitting.
Well, they were also mentioning that
It's
all
not-
of their outfits are made of vibranium too. They have vibranium stitched into
Right,
it.
which
So there's
would
something
make
fucked
no
up going on.
sense that the suit would destroy their clothes
Yeah.
if that was made of vibranium. Plus, like, when he was in Civil War and he was using the suit in, like, a different country, would he have to go get a new change of clothes every time he turned Black Panther on and off? They'd destroy his clothes. I don't remember that doing that in Civil War.
No.
But, like, in this, like, when Killmonger, too, when he turned into a suit at the end, his, like, cape, like, shredded and went away. So, like, they wouldn't have a change of clothes. Maybe it's going over their clothes, and that's fine, but it doesn't look like it in the special effects.
that is kind of odd, yeah. Because they'd be going through a lot of freaking clothes. That's a lot of vibranium each
He's
year.
like the Hulk, like, but when the Hulk does it, he doesn't have any clothes when he comes back.
Yeah, but which
There's
makes
a
sense.
famous scene in the Avengers when he falls into that like
butt
factory and he's naked.
Yeah.
But like this, it's like, well, you don't actually see them come out of the suit after they go in it. But
Mostly
like
just
if
the
they
helmet.
were to,
Yeah.
they'd be like naked basically, other than the necklace.
Yeah, I mean, those suits are pretty skin tight too, so.
I don't know. That didn't make sense to me, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But
anyways, well, you got anything else on there?
let's see if I had anything else.
See, I don't have a lot of griefs with the movie. I thought it was pretty good. But the it's just small things, and I find these small things in a lot of Marvel movies. It's just like dialogue sometimes gets to me, and a lot of the jokes sometimes I'm just like, was it necessary? Probably not, but there's a reason for everything, I guess, too. But maybe I'm just not keen to it sometimes.
Yeah, whenever I see a movie for the first time, like in a theater or two, I try to just take in the movie.
Yeah,
and I always feel like movies go slower the second time you watch it because you know what's going to happen. But
yeah, you know the gist of the plot. And
you
everything.
also learn to nitpick unless some glaring problem, like, not to always keep on picking on Suicide Squad, but the first time I saw that, I was just like, what is happening?
Yeah,
because it had such glaring problems.
And those are apparent the first watch around, which is pretty sad.
Right. Whereas if you have to watch a movie 2-3 times to notice, minute flaws like that, then it's pretty solid.
Yeah.
Every movie has flaws. Every, director makes mistakes. Every movie's not perfect. So, I don't think I've ever seen a movie that was perfect. Like I just told you about Braveheart, how there's a friggin' sedan in the background
in
with
a
a
medieval
camera on it.
medieval era.
Yeah, in a medieval era filming the battle.
Yeah.
So obviously,
but honestly, do we really know that cars weren't around back then? Right. You know what I mean?
He was a Transformer. Don't you know that?
Exactly.
Because Transformers have been around since King Arthur's time or whatever. But yeah.
So I gave it did I say 8 out of 10 stars?
You said 8 originally.
I think 8 out of 10. I think I'm going to stick with 8 after the discussion. I still feel like 8 is pretty good. It's not going to beat my 9 on a Thor Ragnarok. I still think Thor Ragnarok's probably my favorite out of the MCU so far.
I think Thor Ragnarok and Civil War are my favorites.
Yeah. And what do you think about those? What stars would you give those? And compare them, I guess,
comparatively. Ragnarok and Civil War would both probably be...
Like 9 for you?
Yeah, like 8.5, 9.
So that's good.
And
Black
in this
Panther, you
in
said-
Black Panther, I'd probably do 6.5.
6.5 is fair though, because I mean, like the flaws that we mentioned and like the storyline and like the dilemma that he's put with in the whole movie, it is on a smaller scale, but still a good movie.
I was still the best part of the movie, I thought, was the acting.
Yeah,
for the most part, and that's rare in movies, especially even Marvel movies, because sometimes you get some bad actors. But
yeah, Martin Freeman I think was probably the best actor
in the movie,
in the whole movie.
See, I thought he was one of the worst. I thought,
and then
his lines were very like I mean, he does an American accent pretty well.
Yeah,
but it was maybe.
I liked him because he plays.
Maybe my problems with him weren't necessarily him, but the script. It was just like, make sure to mention he was a Navy pilot at the beginning of the movie, so he can pilot the ship. At the end.
And I think the reason I like him so much is because he plays like a very good comedic relief that he didn't mean to.
Yeah, that's true.
I like
think
that. In Andy Serkis, I really like him a lot too.
He comes from a comedic background. Martin Freeman was also in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which is one of my all-time favorite movies.
He was great in that movie.
Yeah, and that's a very funny movie when it doesn't necessarily mean to be a straight-up comedy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's meant to have comic relief in that movie, but not to have... It's supposed to be a sci-fi movie with comedy in it.
Yeah, and I'd say probably I like Andy Serkis a lot, but also Sterling K. Brown. Obviously,
great actor.
Like his scene where he was like... when he was in the spirit realm with
talking to his son,
talking to Killmonger, Mini Killmonger, and also the adult
Jordan.
version, Michael B. Jordan. He was like his crying in that was like you could tell it was like he was in a place when he was doing.
Honestly, I think Sterling K. Brown could be one of the most underrated actors
of the last
in the industry right now.
I agree, 100%.
He's in the show This Is Us. And he was in The People versus O.J. Simpson, but I don't know him for much other than that. And he is a very good actor. So, I mean, overall the movie was pretty good. I enjoyed it the second time around better than the first time around, and that's rare for movies. So
I think I enjoyed it the first time around quite a bit. But the second time around, I actually saw more flaws, so I was in kind of a different spot than you. But I still liked it. I still thought it was good. I'll probably stick with my 8 stars, and I think my out of the MCU 9 for Ragnarok and Infinity War is probably 8.5, 9.
Infinity War is like an 8 for me.
Yeah, but yeah, Black Panther was great. So yeah, I guess that's our Black Panther discussion.
Yeah, and that. For the most part, concludes our first episode of Nerdy and 30.
Yeah, it's very it's a ghetto episode so far because we're just starting out.
Yeah, and we're gonna get our structure down later. But the channel is also, we have some plans for the channel going forward. Me and Justin might be doing some reaction videos to newer movies that we see in the theater.
Yeah, maybe trailer stuff.
Maybe trailer stuff.
Like live trailers.
Like if a new big trailer hits, like Avengers 4 trailer hits, we might do a reaction video to that. Or we're talking about going to see Jurassic Park Fallen Kingdom within the next week and doing a reaction.
Deadpool's another one that's still in theaters that we were thinking about watching as well.
Yeah, and I might be doing some separate movie reviews on my own, or we're talking about bringing in some guests in the future, a few of our friends. Depending on the topic, because some of our friends like some movies more, some like TV more, some
music,
like
games,
music more, whatever. So
yeah, so this is a rough draft. The audio is not the best today, but we did this kind of on the fly. But expect more fun things from Nerdy and 30, and
we have a new Twitter page set up. It's at Nerdy and 30, and once this video is posted, you're going to start seeing some posts from us there and some updates as far as topics going forward or what reaction videos we might post. And Justin has his own Twitter handle.
Yep, at Lairzz, Lairzz. That's a weird name, I know, but it's a Twitch name that I use occasionally. But I might be changing that at some point to kind of help match up a little bit more to the podcast. But I believe we have a Facebook as well, don't we? Or no, not yet.
We don't have a Facebook page yet,
No
but we
Facebook
might going forward.
Yeah.
Might set one up. So
cool. But yeah, until next time, guys. 2 weeks from now, I think we'll have another podcast together. We haven't really decided on the theme or what we want to do yet, but expect more stuff.
We plan on doing these podcasts every 2 weeks, but the reaction videos will kind of just be random. But stay tuned on our Twitter page for the next topic.
Yeah, guys.
All right, see
thanks
you.
for listening. Bye.